Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto to No Crypto. I'm your host, the Crypto Coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined by Wesley Luth, also known as Crypto Wes. Wesley, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Wayne.
Absolutely, man. This is a special one. You know, you and I have known each other for quite a while. We've worked on a lot of things together, so I'm excited to get you on the podcast to talk about what we're doing at LearnVault. I'm a part of LearnVault as well. You're one of the co-founders of LearnVault, and talk about all the history there. But first and foremost, man, Wesley, can you give us a little bit about your background? Because I know you weren't always in the crypto industry. You've got a different career doing something else. Tell us about that background and what got you into the space.
Yeah, my background, I work as a freelance project manager. So I've worked with a lot of different companies the last 6 or 7 years with the Dutch police. I'm an IT project manager. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm a business project manager. And I've had different companies. I've also had a hosting company in the past. I made websites and stuff like that. Also a company that did online courses. So I did all kinds of things, but usually I work as a project manager on different projects. And how I came into contact with the crypto space. Well, in 2013, a friend of mine sent me a link, and I looked at it and at Bitcoin. I thought, this is. I started mining it at home from the computer, and I did some calculations, and I thought, it's not worth it. I'm going to turn off that mining machine. I deeply regret that. And then 2 years later, I got back. I noticed it somewhere on the news, or I don't know, and that's when I got back in more. And started learning about Bitcoin and about Ethereum and other tokens. And since then, like 2016, 17, I think I met you. And we were following some guy on Facebook. And then I really decided I want to help educate people and learn them about the space, because it's a bit hazardous, but also a lot of opportunity there. But that's how I got into it.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of us, right? I mean, we kind of either dismiss it initially at first or give up on it after checking out for a minute. They're like, oh, this may be not worth it. And then come back a few years later with a little more time, a little more understanding, and a little bit of regret, right?
Yeah, well, when you first find out about Bitcoin, the sound, the name in itself, Bitcoin, yeah, sure. A coin from Bitcoin, what is it? Where did it come from? And also, I wasn't really that interested in the economical part of it. I didn't understand that, and now we know tokenomics, and we know more about how those things work out and what it all means. But when you first read it, it's really strange. It's like, for me, I'm from the Netherlands. It's like Chinese. I don't understand anything of it. But but still happy to have started in the space a few years later. There are a lot of people that still aren't in it, and for whom it's still Chinese.
Yeah, it's definitely like a foreign language. I think most people's gap too is when we don't understand financial systems in general, like how they operate, what fiat currency is, and how that whole system operates. We're just used to, and I think most of us in the world we're used to government issued currency. And so it's kind of a gap there, which is part of the education you mentioned, right? I mean, you and I both align on that we both identified there's a big gap in people understanding this technology. There still is, right? There's still a huge opportunity there. It's just getting people to realize that they need to take a few minutes to understand, take some time, understand what this is, understand why it's important. And then usually once people can grasp that, they don't have any regrets.
Yeah, and the strange thing, I didn't know it back then, but we use money because your parents give you some money, you buy an ice cream, and you grow up with it. But in the Netherlands, at least, we never get learned where does money come from. Right. So there's no education on that part. So understanding how fiat money works and with central banks or commercial banks making money and it's not that interesting when you're just consuming and using it. You get paid for your labor and you spend it. But like the last 2 decades, money has lost so much purchasing power. So I think a lot of people, a lot more people at least, are interested in it now because they see like money, going away like an ice cube on something hot. It's melting away the value of your money. So there's something strange going on there. And when you come into contact with Bitcoin, you understand. Okay, this is a really something different. It's the setup is totally different. There's no connection to the banks. There's no connection to politicians and central banks. And it's a totally different setup. So very interesting and in my opinion, very useful.
Yeah, I think, even in the U.S., it's very similar in the terms of we weren't really taught about those things as well. And I like the now. It's kind of like ice cream that's melting right before you. Mm-hmm. I can remember, you and I are about the same age, so I know currency-wise it's a little different. But for us in the U.S., I remember growing up, the idea of having $1 million, right, being a millionaire, was you would be set. You'd be set for life. That's all you need. And now fast forward to where we are today, and that might be good for a little while, but that's not going to last very much long. If someone wants to say retire for the next 20, 30 years, they're going to need probably a few million to do that. And it's probably the same where you are in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah. And of course, it's all connected because the value of the money has dropped. Your purchasing power has dropped, but houses have become more and more expensive. So I know that's a problem in the US too, but also in the Netherlands. I've got children, age of 14 and 11, but I don't think they're able to buy a house, even if they would later work and they have a partner that would work, they wouldn't be able to get a mortgage and buy a house because houses are way overpriced. Or so there are a lot of things that are kind of breaking up in our society. And I've read some books about also. The money that used to be in the Netherlands, we had the gulden that was replaced by the euro, but also when that change happened, we kind of lost half the value of our money. So that was also not so nice. And every currency falls. The gulden was around for quite a while. It was also once upon a time a very big currency in the world. But it ended because of the euro, and I guess the euro. I don't know how long it will stay, or the dollar.
Right.
But things are gonna change. So I think in that sense also cryptocurrencies from a technical perspective are interesting because also just sending some fiat money from me. Let's say I want to send you some dollars through the banking system at high fees, and it takes a lot of time. Yeah, why is that the case? With internet, we're in 2025. Why does it take a lot of money to send some value across the globe? Yeah, with crypto rails, you can send money quite easily with hardly any fee. So the world is changing in that way.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we're going to see. And I think stablecoins are going to be kind of a bridge to that. I'm not saying that stablecoins will be around forever because they're pegged to that same value of the fiat currency that is slowly diminishing in purchasing power, but from day to day, it's people are used to spending that currency. And if you already have a rail where, like you said, you could send it to me, I can send it back to you without having to hop through multiple different banking systems just to get to me and multiple different conversions to get to me, then why not do that?
Yeah, true. And I think a lot of people, especially in countries that don't have a strong currency themselves, or people that want to send funds from their country to another country are really finding out stablecoins. I was listening to a podcast this afternoon during a run that said like 60% is just stablecoin being sent and being used as payment. So stablecoin started out for people that are trading crypto, like you want to buy a Bitcoin and you want to stay in crypto with crypto dollars or crypto euros, but usually crypto dollars. That's how it started. But now it's being used. It's being used more for everyday stuff and transferring than for the crypto application. So there's a use case for it.
Yeah, those people are getting early. I guess you could say an early education on how to use that because they're forced to, right? I mean, there's people that live in different countries. A lot, say like Philippines and other places in Asia, or like Central and South America, where they people will leave their country and go work in other countries where the money is stronger, and then send that money back to family. Those are the people that realized it early on, because the old way they're sending like Western Union or MoneyGram or somewhere like that, and they're losing 30 to 40% of their value before it even gets to the family members they're trying to send it to. And so it definitely solves that problem. So I think that's also another reason why education is so important, because when technology shifts, those that are earliest to adopt it and adapt to it as well, those are the ones that really succeed. And so, a lot of people think, I don't know if it's the same and probably the same in the Netherlands as the US. It's like most people think, oh, our banking system has worked okay. We haven't had any real major problems. So why do I even really need this cryptocurrency thing?
Yeah.
But even now banks are discussing how to, move to those rails.
Yeah. And I must say it's a bit, on one hand, I like the use case of stablecoins because they help out people. There's a use case. And for us in the Netherlands, when I want to do a payment from my bank to another bank, it also, from the point of view of the app, it seems instant. It's like a few seconds and it's there. But what people don't know is that there's a whole system behind it that is not instant. They're doing all kinds of calculations and doing stuff, but with crypto it is. So in that sense, stablecoins are way better things to do, better way to work. But on the other hand, one of the strong points with Bitcoin is that it's away from the centralized parties and that it's not fiat money. It's money that's separate. It's money from the people, but also companies. But everyone that wants can participate on the whole globe. And there's no politicians involved that can say, hey, if you look at the Bitcoin, there are 21 million. We're going to make it 40 million. We're going to do some inflation here. That's not an option. So that's a different story. And with stablecoins, you're still it's a representation of the dollar or the euro. So it's in that sense, it's still the same. It has the same problems behind it, but it is an upgrade, and it's useful for some people. So
yeah, I think that's a misconception a lot of people have when they see a lot of governments and a lot of institutions are getting involved in Bitcoin, and people think Bitcoin is becoming centralized. And it's not really the case. It's open to anyone, right? We can't block governments and institutions from getting involved, just like you can't block an individual person from utilizing and accessing it. But even if all these governments all decide they're going to hold Bitcoin tomorrow, they don't control the network. They can't alter the issuance. They can't change the supply. It's just, they can't control it. They can participate just like everybody else, basically. And so that's the biggest difference I think people need to take away from this. Because I've heard that lately, a lot of people are seeing a lot of governments getting involved and actually holding Bitcoin now. And they're thinking, oh, it's getting centralized because government's getting involved. But that's not really the case. The more Bitcoin they hold, the more valuable they make my Bitcoin, because they're attributing to the scarcity of it because they're holding, a large portion.
Yeah, and another interesting thing that's also going on with the United States. They're explicitly saying we're not going to make a CBDC. We're not going to do that. And in Europe, we are going to do that. So I'm against it. But I cannot really vote for the European people in Parliament there. But it's going to happen. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But I like that America says, hey, we're just going to leave it to the market. There are already dollars that are on crypto rails. So let's use those and see how that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an important topic, so I don't want to skip over this. We definitely want to jump into what we're doing at LearnVault, and I want to talk a little bit more about our background, what we've done together in education. But CBDCs, I mean, that's an important one for people to understand, because there's different types of, you mentioned Bitcoin earlier, right? Anyone can access it. No one can control it. It's open. And when you look at that, it's open, it's permissionless, all these different attributes that give it, anyone can access it. Nobody can censor it. But central bank digital currencies are the opposite. It can basically become programmable money that can be programmed for certain things, and it depends on what's happening. And it scares me when I think back to what we saw at COVID. So imagine if the government doesn't want you to go anywhere, but instead of saying, hey, you can't go anywhere, they set parameters on the money, the central bank digital currency that's in your central bank digital wallet. And if you can't spend money, can you really go anywhere? No, right? And so those are the things that can happen. Our climate change, if they think, hey, Wesley, you've driven your vehicle too much, you're not going to be able to use that money to buy gasoline anymore for the rest of the the week or the month or whatever it may be. Is it gasoline, or you guys call it what, petrol, or is it gasoline? We call it gasoline in the US.
I drive in an electric car, so
neither, right? But if they wanted to, and there's different things that can pause that money. Whether it's okay, we're trying to save the world, green. We need to save meat. You've eaten too much meat already. You can no longer buy meat, and so your money can become programmed. And that may sound a bit Orwellian in terms of the fact that the government would get that controlling. But anytime you give the ability for something to happen, it's possible to happen, even if it may not happen or have those intentions from the beginning. It could happen in the future.
Yeah, it's like Big Brother is watching in overdrive. It's not just watching. They can do all kinds of stuff. That's also one of the things I like about Web3. And of course, it's kind of a container word, Web3. What is it? But one of the parts is that you own your own money. Like with Bitcoin, you do with fiat or fiat representatives like stablecoins. You don't, because people can just block it or freeze it. But also all your data. If you want to give away, like for example, I do running and I have a sports watch. I want to be in charge of who sees that data. I want to share it with my doctor if something's wrong with me. I want to have the ability to do that, but also to withdraw that ability. And I don't want my insurance company to have that, for example. A lot of the world is moving to more and more digitally minded, and there's more and more information available. So there's more and more need for you as an individual to be in control over your data. It's your data, just like with Facebook and Meta, also using your information on Facebook to train their models. I don't want that. If you're not paying attention, then you've signed off, or you didn't protest against it. So they're using your data. Okay.
Yeah, and people underestimate the value of their own data. I mean, most people think, well, what is my data really worth? But companies like Meta and Google have made hundreds of billions of dollars off of being able to monetize that data. I mean, if they're monetizing, then people are willing to pay for certain things, whether it's market research, whether it's marketing itself, or any other aspect. There's a lot to be made there.
Yeah, and there's monetizing, but there's also how far do you want to go with monetizing? There are all kinds of discussions, for example, for young children with social media. Because they made all the apps so that attractive that they want to keep on pushing it and want to keep on playing the games and showing them ads and stuff like that. So there's a whole generation that's kind of addicted to all those apps, and now finally you see some pushback, at least in the Netherlands, and I also think in Australia. I see movements that say, hey, we don't want to give children social media until they're like 15 or 16, and also take away like smartphones until they're that age, or 12 or 13 at least later on. I think that's a good movement, because companies like Google or Meta, they just want to earn, and I don't think they care what kind of problems they create, or they're morally challenged, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, so let's jump in, because you and I started, we met, around, I think it's 2017, 2018 online. We started working with some different educational projects. Some of them didn't stick around, but we found ourselves in certain groups and circles where we all felt education was important, right? That's a big piece to that. So you mentioned earlier that you felt education was important. How have you seen that education evolve over the years? Because you and I have been making content for quite a while now around, whether it's for different companies or ourselves, in terms of what have you seen change and what do you see is still the same?
I think partly it's still the same, in the sense that you can of course, use more and more social media nowadays. You didn't have TikTok or Instagram wasn't around, so there are more channels for different audiences you can communicate to or sometimes with. One thing I do find difficult sometimes is the short attention span. So in the beginning, we used to make videos that were like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you could really explain something. And that is sometimes that's kind of like needed because you have to understand it and get a good grip on the context, and you cannot explain everything in a minute or 2 minutes. So it's more like you have to make bite-sized pieces of information. Otherwise, people they flip through it, and it also has to do with the monetization we were talking about, like on on Facebook, for example. If people only check out the first 10-20 seconds and you have like 4 minutes, then the algorithm says, hey, this is an interesting video, I'm not going to show it to other people. So it's also more difficult to get good education out there. It has to be more and more like over the top and screaming, and then you get kind of the influencers that say what they think people want to hear to attract attention. One of the things I really dislike is people that talk about gems, and they want to introduce you to some token that's going to make you make 100x or whatever, and they try to draw you into their community by holding out those gems and not just specifically saying what it is. And it's all a bit scammy, but
yeah, that's a big frustration because you're. I mean, we've created, and others as well. We've created some quality content around what it is, and people that actually take the time to check it out and look at what it is, like it. But you're right, that attention span thing is I don't know. It's like the TikTok effect, right? It's people are getting used to short videos, and maybe we should also be looking at that as well. And we have tried to trim some videos down, make them shorter, bite-sized topics. Just because that's what we see going on. I saw it on Netflix. This is not necessarily Web3 related, but think about Netflix. If you go into Netflix and you see a 6 or 7 hour video movie, are you going to sit down and watch that whole movie? Probably not.
No.
But what do they make it? A mini-series. My son and I just past weekend watched this. It was a 6-episode mini-series that we just binge watched 90% of it in one day because we were relaxing, right? And so if that would have been one long movie, it would have been like, oh, I don't have time to watch the 6 hour movie. But, oh, yeah, six episodes in a little mini series. Yeah, let me go ahead and watch it. And that's, I think, what we have to do.
But I also think because we've also learned a lot. When we started, I didn't know how to use a cam or how to use certain software to develop the videos the way we want them, or to use certain effects, or when you screen share, you want to zoom into these different parts. So you also develop your own skills better. And one other thing is also there are different generations involved. So our generation, people, let's say between 40 and 50, learned in a specific way, and I think they are more eligible to watch a little bit longer videos. And kids that are like between 10 and 20 or 25, they only do shorts. They're used to the very short dopamine shots, and they want to go and go and go and go. So if you want to reach that audience, you have to do it that way. And if you want to reach, so for us also during our learning how everything works, there's also the part of who's our target audience and who do you want to reach and what are you making for them. So there's a lot of learning going on behind the scenes in that way.
No, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about LearnVault and what that is. I know I'm a part of LearnVault as well, so I already know the answer to some of these questions, but I'm asking for the audience. What is the main reason behind what LearnVault is today and why we decided to form that?
Yeah, it has to do with some of the things I just mentioned, like scammy influencers. There are a lot of people in the scene that that are just in there to make a quick buck, and will tell people everything they think they want to hear, and promote all kind of shitty projects. And we've all been there. I think most of us, we're with the 5 of us with LearnVault, all different backgrounds, but we've all been scammed, or we all take the responsibility. You are always responsible for pressing the send button, and if you didn't do your own research, but that's also always like, do your own research. What is doing your own research? How do you do that? And so what we as a group have experienced is that you get scammed, and there's also some technical shit you have to understand, or otherwise you will get robbed in another way. So we came together like, hey, let's help each other, and also let's vet out projects we think are interesting, and also then capture that information and share that with people. And so our intention is to help other people get into this space, because we think, hey, this is good for the future. Not all projects, but like I'm a big Bitcoin fan, and looking at what you're wearing, you also like Bitcoin. But so we wanna help people get into this space in a safe way, and doing that in a fun way, but also a serious way, because there are dangers involved. So we talk about scams, we talk about security, and part of it has to do with just your setup on your phone or your computer. How do you secure your seed phrase or your keys, and all kinds of those kinds of stuff. But also give context, like part of what I've learned is how money gets created, and that's information that is very useful in understanding how Bitcoin differs from fiat. I might get some haters here, but there's also like XRP. That's a totally different project, and they've introduced a freezing function not long ago, so they can also now freeze your funds, and then people are happy. And I think, okay, but that's not what decentralized money is about. Then you're kind of missing the point. Not saying you cannot earn money with the XRP token, of course, that's something different. Right. But so we as LearnVault came together, sharing our own experiences, and also wanting to help other people get into this space in a safe way. And also we were getting asked a lot of questions, so why not make videos about it and share that? Yeah. We started out with 3-4 projects that wanted us to make content for their project. That's how we started. So
right. Yeah, we built some really great content, and some of those projects are still around and some aren't, right? So it gives us that opportunity to say, hey, let's build our own thing. Let's have this content out there. And just like you were talking about, whether it's risky, people that call gems like the next potential 100X, or like XRP, the example you gave there, it's having people truly understand the full aspect of what it is. And then when you understand what it is, you can make better decisions in terms of, like, it's not going to stop me from, like, I may want to invest into, like, say, a risky meme coin or something else, but at least you understand the risk because you have better knowledge of what's going on around it. Instead of people that blindly throw money into something, think it's going to make them a millionaire overnight, and those are the ones that really get hurt. So it's understanding that the fastest cryptocurrency is not always the best cryptocurrency, right? That's like saying, what's the best cryptocurrency out there? Or what's the best blockchain out there? Nobody really knows. It really depends. You need more context. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think I gave an example recently, right? If a lion and a shark were in a fight, who would win? And it really depends on the environment, right? If we're in the water or if we're on the land, because obviously you need more context.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is risk and reward, and the more you understand the system. And also, like, for example, just an example, but smaller tokens or cryptocurrencies, if there's a whale, someone that's holding a lot, they can really influence the market. And nowadays with Bitcoin, that's less the case, but in the past that was the case. So people that had tens of millions worth of Bitcoin could influence the rates, exchange rates on the market. And then you think, hey, I've got a good analysis here. Why does this spike down now? Yeah, because someone is manipulating the market. But there's a lot to be learned in that on that when you start in the market. But that's something we can help you with, explaining the context, explaining risk reward, and then if you still want to, like, for example, put some money in a meme token because you like the project, and you did your research and you say, yeah, it's risky, but I want to put like 2% of my funds in there. Why be my guest? It's your money. Feel free to do that. You can also go to the casino and put it on black. But
Right.
you can also do a meme coin if you liked it or you like to support it. But be aware of what you're doing and how much money you're putting in, and also have a strategy for getting out. And that's one of the different things, I think. Getting into a token is quite easy. You can just buy it. And when you're you have some FOMO, some fear of missing out, and you think, yeah, I want to go in. But when it goes up once, twice, 3 times, when do you get out? Do you go out with the whole amount, or do you fade out in small steps? Or it's better if you have a plan, and you can also just try out a few different plans and see how that is for you. But it has a lot of aspects to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And all things that we've learned over the years, right? Whether it's, when's a good time or what's a good strategy to take profit. But everything we do at LearnVault is centered around foundational stuff that's going to help you in the long run. So, Wesley, why don't you share some of those tools that we have available for people right now? Obviously, we've done a lot. We build stuff for other companies. When it comes to LearnVault, can you talk about some of the things that are available now to someone that wants to jump in and learn?
Yeah, sure. Currently, we're starting a new series of webinars. It's actually starting the 11th of July. So depending on when you're hearing this, you might want to join in. It's a free series of four webinars, and it's actually a kind of an experiment. We've got a course that's called Get Off Zero. That's a paid course. But we also made a version of that. It's kind of the coach-guided Get Off Zero. Sometimes people have a little trouble of starting or going through the videos, and we say, okay, let's do it step by step together with us as coaches, and go through the material in a few weeks. So we have the Get Off Zero package. That's a paid course, but we also have a free course. There's a lot of information also in that course to help you get started. And you can find that at learnvault.io, but also at school.com/learnvault. There you can find our community and join up. And sometimes we have events like last year with around in December. We did like a run of 25 every day. We posted on certain topics to learn about them. Kind of a challenge for people to jump on the train and learn in a fast way and be able to react to the videos and ask us stuff about it.
And we had pretty fun with that. It was like an advent calendar for Christmas, but with a small crypto task every day. And the thing about the coach guided thing is you get those chances to ask questions. And so, as Wesley mentioned, that the webinar series, if you're hearing this or you find out about this before July 11th, you can jump in and register for that. And it's free for initial batch. We're launching this program. We're getting it out there. But that, if you decide 6 months from now, hey, you want to go through a coach guided Get Off Zero package, then you're looking at maybe a $250 value, which is still worth it based on the amount of time and personalized attention you get with it. But take advantage now. You're still early. You haven't missed out. So all the links that were mentioned are in the description here. You can follow LearnVault. You can join our school, and you can check out some of our courses. And check out the free courses. That'll give you a little bit of information. The more knowledge, the better. And I think, Wesley, it's safe to say, we talk about a lot of the foundational stuff has stayed the same, but there's a lot of tools that have evolved and changed over the years. I find myself doing that constantly, where it's like, okay, when I made this video 4 years ago, the topic's relevant, but I've got to update the links and the companies that I may be referring to. Even my book that I put out in 2018, I've edited 5. I just did another edit last week, so I've edited 5 times since it came out in 2018.
Yeah, well, a lot is changing, and one of the things we're also very interested in and has a relationship with crypto is also AI. Artificial intelligence is hot nowadays, and I think personally that is really going to change the world, the way the world works. It's going fast now. But we also experimented with that. We had a podcast series created by AI, 2 of them talking to each other. It's really interesting to see that, and also how relatively good they they make their talk about certain content. But also there are different crypto projects that are into AI and want to apply the ideas of decentralization and owning your own data, but still being able to use a large language model. And with ChatGPT or Claude, you're giving away all your information to them. And they are not that privacy minded. But there are a lot of different projects in crypto space that are focused on your privacy.
Yeah, there are. And then on top of that, just the data we've seen, I think the early phases of, I say early, but in the last couple of years, some of Google's earlier rollouts of some of their AI models were very biased to where it was giving you bad information based off of certain viewpoints, right? Because bad data in, bad data out. And that's also where decentralization can play a part in making sure you get better, more balanced data that AI model is pulling from. So blockchain and AI, I think, they definitely have a symbiotic relationship. AI needs blockchain and blockchain needs AI because we're going to see better tools develop using AI.
And I think AI agents is going to be a hot thing. It already is. Try and find out how you can use AI, for example, for crypto, for learning about crypto, but also doing your investigations on projects. Nowadays, of course, with Claude and ChatGPT and others, they can go onto the web and do searches for you and find out stuff. So you can, for example, compare different projects. If you have a new project that is on a specific topic, you can see if there are other projects that are doing kind of the same thing, and you can compare them. And you can really use those tools to learn a lot about projects.
And you may have noticed we glanced off the screen for a second while you were talking. You said something that spawned an idea, and I was like, let me take this note down before we're done because there's definitely a way where AI can help you be better at doing your own research, right? You mentioned that earlier. People will say, do your own research and not really know what that means. And we teach that in our courses, how to do your own research. But I think AI could definitely assist with that, when you get the right parameters as to helping you get better information so you know what you're looking at instead of not. Because when people aren't educated, they fall for the hype. And that's where we see people get hurt. And that's what we don't want to happen. This technology has so much potential, right?
Yeah, and even with AI, you have to be careful in the sense that it might hallucinate. I had some interesting stories or talks with ChatGPT a while ago about, for example, Vitalik Buterin. He's a well-known guy in the crypto space, and I was asking the ChatGPT about, let's say, the most famous people, the OGs from Bitcoin, and it didn't mention Vitalik Buterin. So I thought, why aren't you mentioning him? And I pointed out that Vitalik Buterin was the chief editor of Bitcoin magazine once, and he did a project on colored coins, and so he was first in the beginning part of the whole Bitcoin project.
Absolutely.
It didn't know that, so it was trained, I guess, on certain data that only pointed it to Ethereum, and so also in making content for our courses, of course, it's a great tool, but there's always our knowledge, and we've been there the whole journey. So we can challenge the AI if it's correct or if it's complete. So that's also a bit of a thing to keep in the back of your mind when you're using AI. It's fast, it's useful, but it might forget certain stuff or not point out everything.
Yep, definitely. So Wesley, as we start to wrap up, we've challenged everybody. We're gonna, want everybody to check out our free course if you're available for it. Check out our content on LearnVault.io. But what would you say to someone that's looking to get started? You kind of touched on it earlier in terms of why to avoid like the influencer type that's talking about all these hidden gems. But in terms of what makes LearnVault different than what we've seen out there besides that?
Yeah, I guess when, let's say, you start to follow us on Twitter or X, I should say nowadays, but you see that we give out a lot of content. So we educate also, not being paid for it, but if you follow us, you get little pieces of information that kind of educates you on different topics too, because we want to help make this space better. And it's not all about making money. It's also about making it a better place. And I guess when you start learning, I would say join us, and then you have a place where you can ask questions and you can go through the free content. But also you can find out who we are following. Sometimes you mention Antonopoulos. He's been kind of off grid for a while now, but still his information is still very valuable, and there are more people that make good content that you can still find on YouTube, and we can point you to there. Because it is a trap to kind of just Google it on YouTube and you get sucked into a certain channel and a certain algorithm, and before you know it, you're investing in BitConnect or something.
Yeah. And those of you that don't know, BitConnect was one of the earlier scams, and there was a lot of hype, and they actually had working products, but the model just didn't make sense. And so people that were able to analyze it and had that knowledge were able to see this has issues. Whereas everybody else is like, oh, I'm making money. And, just like any other scam or meme coin, like you don't really make a profit until you take profit. And we've seen a lot of projects crash and burn over the years. And so that's why it's important to get education. So make sure to check out LearnVault, check out all the things we're doing. Wesley, any final words before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, one last thing. I guess people could also buy your book or download your book. I hear you just updated it. So...
I just actually updated it from no crypto to no crypto, from NO to KNOW, and it's available. The ebook, I actually made it super cheap. I haven't even promoted this yet, so it's my first time to say. Okay. If you want to join our email list, you can go to blockchainwayne.com as well too. That'll insert you into our LearnVault and my email list, and you can get a free PDF download, or if you want to download it in an ebook reader, then you can get it for 99 cents on Amazon. The digital version, the ebook. So, and it wasn't that expensive before. It was $4 for the ebook and $7 for the printed book. Mm-hmm. But I figure let's make this information accessible to everybody, because you can Google any information out there. You can go to AI and get any information out there. But as Wesley mentioned, having that mix of people with knowledge and experience that can help you make sure you're getting the right answer to questions, that's what makes what we do at LearnVault so important.
Okay.
Anything else, Wesley, or is that it for today?
No, I guess that was it for today. I would like to invite everyone, if you're new to this space, learn about it and give it a little try. Go to Coinbase, sign up, buy for $10 or something, and first start learning about it. Follow us, and then follow links we share, and go from there. Then you start from a safe place, and I think it's the future. And so it's not going to go away. It's only going to become more and more. So there's only now. Start learning about it.
Yeah. The best time to learn about Bitcoin was about 15 years ago. The second best time is now. Yeah, right? It
is.
So I just kind of took that phrase about when it's a good time to plant a tree and just kind of rephrase it for Bitcoin too. So, and then you'll learn about what makes Bitcoin different from other cryptocurrencies. You have a better understanding. So. Definitely jump in, learn. We're not out there. Like, we could probably amass a large following, Wesley, right, if we just start making these crazy YouTube thumbnails and talking about the next 1000x gem. But we don't want to do that. We want to show the legitimacy of the space and what can happen in the long term. And so jump in with us. We love nothing more than to build an engaged community. And we need those of you that are interested in learning to come in and join us. So that's it for this episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Wesley, thanks again for joining us. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.